If you're an Amazon seller that's been looking to get started with your Amazon arbitrage or wholesale business, then look no further than this video for how you can be sure of products that are going to be selling consistently, that have consistent prices and also have consistent competition, so that you can make better buys and be sure to avoid the worst buys. In this video, we're going to be covering the most important software tool for you to be able to make sure that you're buying the right products, which is Keepa. Now, in this step-by-step tutorial, I'm going to be going through the Keepa graphs, all of the information for how to know on a specific product if it's a good buy or not, as well as we're going to go through the Keepa Data Product Finder, which is a key piece of this software program that will allow you to find more products based on the different ASIN or product criteria that you're looking for. But before we get into the Keepa tutorial, I do want to let you know that I have a free 30-day training at my website at askjimmysmith.com/free training. You get 30 days of emails with a new piece of content for you to learn from each and every day. Plus, I have a free Keepa training guide, which is 16 pages of information for how to use and master the Keepa Chrome extension at askjimmysmith.com/Keepa guide. You get both of those links below and in the description. But let's go ahead and get into the video. So what is Keepa? Now, Keepa is simply a software program that has been around for a long time. Now, the software actually used to be free whenever I started, but now it costs anywhere from $20 to $25 per month, and it actually depends on the exchange rate and where you're located. So if you are purchasing this at the time of this recording, it could be anywhere from $20 to $25 per month, or if you're watching this in the future, it may be a little bit more expensive. It all depends on the timing of it and the exchange rate. But Keepa allows us to see the historical data on a product. And I'm gonna go through a bunch of examples here in just a minute. Now, this historical data is extremely important because first we can see the sales rank graph, and that information allows us to see how often this product is selling. Now, it's not an exact measurement of sales, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but it does give us an indicator of, is this product selling consistently? Because we're seeing the movements in Amazon's sales rank over time. The second thing that it allows us to see is the historical pricing, and specifically the historical buy box pricing of what Amazon is showing to customers. Now, some of this information can allow us to know if the product is profitable, if it ever dips below a profitable level, and really what we can expect to hopefully sell it at in the future. And then the third main thing that we learn from Keepa is the historical competition. And we're going to go through that example as well of what does the competition look like historically? Maybe during different seasons, the competition skyrockets, or maybe it's been at a steady level for a long time, and we can feel some confidence that if we were to list on this product, that we would be able to sell out of the product without too much competition. And then actually there's a fourth thing that Keepa recently added. I made a whole video on it, which is seeing some monthly sales information that's given to us by Amazon, and Keepa is tracking that information. So we're going to go through some examples of that as well, so we can see what Amazon is telling us is actually selling on a monthly basis for particular products. Now, some of these products don't have that information, others do, and so we're going to show you what that looks like in this video. Okay, now before I actually get into these examples, I want you to know that I actually have a free Keepa training guide. It's over 16 pages now at this point. You can get it by going to askjimmysmith.com/Keepa guide. That link is below and in the description. And whenever you do that, you're actually going to see a bunch of information for how to set up Keepa. And we're going to talk about some of this stuff in this video, but it'll allow you to see it in a written format, as well as with a bunch of different examples of what I would or would not purchase depending on the different types of products. So it is a very helpful guide. I've used it to train employees and thousands of other students. And so I recommend checking it out at askjimmysmith.com/Keepa guide. Now, taking a look at this example, we can see, now this is just for a generic product. This is not a product that you should necessarily go out and buy or anything. I just wanted to show some examples here. So all the examples aren't actually products that you should go buy necessarily unless you had them at a profitable price. These are just examples for how do you read these Keepa charts. Now, for a lot of people, this may be very overwhelming. This is what Keepa as a Chrome extension on your Google Chrome browser looks like. Now, we're going to be just discussing these graphs in this video. I've got separate videos on the Keepa Data Product Finder and using that tool, so be on the lookout for those after this video. But there are a few things that you need to make sure that you have turned on your Keepa graphs. We've got all of these options over here, and so if I were to click that, it goes away, right? I can make all of these different lines disappear if I don't want to see them. So we need to know, what do we want to have shown on our Keepa graphs to allow us to have the best amount of information possible to be successful in reading Keepa charts. So I do recommend, and I actually go through this in the Keepa guide of what you need to have turned on, but I do recommend having the sales rank turned on, having the buy box turned on. I also recommend having these new third-party FBA turned on. If you're going to ever do fulfilled by merchant, where you're actually selling the products and shipping them to the customers yourself, you can click new third-party FBM and have those populate as well. Now, if you ever see Amazon as an option on here, I would recommend turning on the Amazon option, because it will show you whenever Amazon is selling a product and what the pricing was when Amazon was on the listing. So that's a very important other one that I would also have. Additionally, down here, I actually typically turn these green ones off because they're actually very similar. If we were to look at this, they're very similar graphs to the above graph here with this sales rank graph. So I don't need to see this redundant information. To actually turn these off, but I do currently leave the monthly sold on. This is a new feature that Keepa just released. It's actually tracking information since August of 2023 when Amazon came out with these monthly sold amounts, and Keepa is tracking this for us. Now, additionally, I also have new offer count on. You can at times, if you want to see the review count, do that. This gives us another indicator of if a product is selling or not. But I don't recommend having the rating because I don't care about the historical rating of a product. But sometimes review count I will turn on. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to leave that off because new offer count is really the most important out of these three options down here. Now, additionally, whenever you are evaluating Keepa graphs, you've got an option down here of what's the range that you want to see of history. Now, if you just want to see one day, you can click on day and it'll show us that. You can also see the week, the month, the 3 months is what it typically will default to. And then what I recommend is the year chart, because we want to see what it has looked like on the past year. This allows us to see seasonal information. It allows us to see if there were a huge dip in the price where maybe we'd run that risk of not being profitable on it if it dipped back to that price point. And so this is important to look at the last year if at all possible. Sometimes it won't have that much information, or sometimes, like in this case, it will have all 1,677 days. This can be helpful for seasonal products if you want to see how it's sold in every Q4, for instance, every Christmas season. But for the most part, I am typically looking at the last year, unless it's a much more seasonal item where I want to see what it's done in past seasons, whether it's the summer, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, etc. That's where you're looking at the all history would be helpful if it's available. Now, you also have information down here such as statistics, and you can compare international prices. You can share the graph. You can also click on less historical data, and whenever you do that, last bottom graph goes away. So if you're not seeing the seller count or the competition, click on more historical data, and this bottom graph will populate. Also, if you're not seeing this middle graph right here, these would be controlled by this sub-rank section. So you can click that, that will go away, and you can just click that again to have that show up for you. So we want to make sure that we're seeing all three of these boxes at this point, because it gives us all the information that we need to make the best purchasing decisions possible. All right, now the three main things you're going to be looking at is going to be one, the sales rank, so this green line going up and down. The second thing would be the buy box price, and if there is no buy box, then looking at the third-party FBA price. Those two things will give us some pricing indicators of whether or not this is going to sell profitably for us now and into the future. And then the third thing that you're looking at is this new offer count. This is the competition that we can expect or that we can see for the history of this listing. We can see all of that information and kind of what that trend is. So as I'm looking at a Keepa graph, I want to see first, is it selling well? And if you see these green lines for the sales rank going up and down consistently, that indicates that it's selling well. That indicates that it's having multiple sales happen. Now, each drop in this sales rank line does not mean one sale. It could mean 5 sales, 10 sales. It could mean just about anything. But it does mean at least one sale happened. In the majority of instances, we'll see a drop, and that means at least a sale happened. It could, again, be 5 or 10. There could be multiple drops that happen at once. There's a lot of different factors. But seeing this go up and down consistently means that it's selling consistently, and that's important because we know that if we're sending in a product, we want to make sure that it's actually a product that's selling on Amazon. So we know that that checks out. This is something that's good. It's going up and down. The next thing that we want to see is the pricing. Now, typically, I recommend taking a look at where does the price land throughout this year. And it seems to land for this particular product, if I zoom in on this, at $14.44 here, it goes up to $15.99, I think I saw, 96, $14.25, $15.95. So it seems to be anywhere from $14 to $16. Right now, it's all the way up to $20. But if I were to be buying this product, I wouldn't be evaluating it based on $19.99. I would want to evaluate this product based on around $15 to $16, because most likely it's going to drop back down to that price point. And that's a huge difference, right? Having a $20 product, if I look at this and this costs, let's just say $6.99, having a $20 product makes me $4.81 or 69% return on investment. That's great. But if it drops down to that $15 price point, I'm making 23% return on investment or $1.62. It's a huge difference in profitability, especially if we were to have looked at it and saw that it was typically at 10 and we were losing money. Then Keepa allows us to see this data and this information, so we know if we can have a good likelihood of making profit if it were to drop back down to here. So that's huge. Now, for me, particularly in my business, I may consider purchasing this and trying to sell it at $20, because I know if it drops back down to 15, I'm making more than what I spent on the product. I'm going to break even or make a little bit of money. That's a good indicator. So for me, as I'm reading these charts, if I see that it's selling consistently and I'm looking at this pricing of a listing, I want to see in the last year, if it dropped to its lowest consistent point, which seems to be here, $14.25, if it dropped down to $14.25 for 5 months, right, then can I make money or break even and get my money back? Because that's a really good opportunity to make sure that you're getting your money out of this product. So if it was $14.25 and it cost me $6.99, I'm making $1, I'm pretty much going to break even after prep expenses and sending it in. That at least tells me, hey, I'm not going to lose money in this instance. So I have a good opportunity to buy this, send it in, and sell it profitably. So that's just as an example, by the way. Now then, the third thing we want to check out is this competition, this new offer count down here at the bottom. We want to see that sellers are going up and then going down and then going up and down, because this is indicating that the amount of sellers on a listing is not enough for the demand of the product. That we're seeing sellers come on, the demand is still high, and so people buy the products and sellers fall off, and then they come back in, they restock, and then they sell out again. And so that is a good indicator. Now, an issue that you want to watch out for, let's say this was a whole year and we're looking at a year and we're seeing sellers go straight up and to the right. That is a big problem, because this indicates that there's not enough demand for the supply. There's too much inventory and sellers aren't selling out of their inventory. So that would be a problem if this was an entire year or a 3-month period. Since this is just a week or so, that's not a big deal. That's why we want to look at the full year and see what it's doing. And currently it had stayed fairly steady and flat, and then they started to sell out, which is why the price is going up. So that's another thing that you may see, is that as you see sellers fall off of a listing, you may see the price go up just as it did here. It's gone up to $20 now that there's one seller, whereas before, when there was a bunch of different sellers going up and down, it stayed fairly flat and steady. So that's a good indicator. However, if you were to see the opposite, where the sellers were going straight up and to the right, you're probably going to see a product fall in pricing. So if I re-highlight this data point, you can see it was actually at around 17. It went up to 1865 at this point, 1881 there actually. 1881 whenever there was 5 sellers on the listing at that 1881 price. But then as the sellers got up to this point, the price dropped back down to $15. And so that is just showing that as the sellers go up, the price goes down. As the sellers are going down, a lot of times the price will go up. And so these indicators help us to make the best purchasing decisions possible. In this particular case, I would be okay buying this product, sending it in if it was profitable at this $14.25 price point. And so there's plenty of videos I've done evaluating Keepa graphs that may help you make the best decisions there as well. Additionally, there are some other things within a Keepa graph that I cover in the Keepa training guide, such as the statistics piece and how to take a look at that, the drops, how to read variations, how to look at some of the data, as well as being able to track products here. But for the purposes of this video, I just want to go through the main things that you're looking at. The last thing on a Keepa graph here that is newer to Keepa's software suite is tracking the monthly sold amount. Now this is actually coming from Amazon directly. It's the historical data for the bought in the past month metric as shown on Amazon's search engine's results page. This is just saying, hey, if it's over 50, 50 plus, Amazon's showing that. If it's 100 plus, Amazon is showing that. There's different ranges. I've done a full video on what this actually means and how you can use it. But this is very helpful because in different seasons, you may see a lot of things sell and then it falls off because it's no longer popular in that season. And I have an example for you in just a minute to show what that means. All right, now in this next example, I just want to show this to you. This is a different product. This is Oreos, very popular product, obviously. We can see that the sales rank chart, that's the first thing we're looking at, this green line. The sales rank chart's going up and down a lot. So we know it's selling, that's fine, it checks out. The next thing is the price. This seems to be very steady. So we're seeing about $10, and then back here is around $10. So it seems to sell around that $9.99 price point. Sometimes it goes up to $12, but it sells around this $9.99 price point. So if that's a profitable price for you, then it may be something that you can sell. And then additionally down here in the competition, we're seeing a bunch of sellers falling off, but staying fairly steady. So that is a good product for us to potentially test as long as it's profitable. And that's a completely separate video. And then lastly, this monthly sold, you can actually see back whenever they started, Keepa started tracking this in August, there was about a 50 per month monthly sold. And then Amazon said, hey, now it's up to about 100. And then around December, around the Christmas season, we're seeing 200 sold per month, anywhere from 200 to 500. Because that's the next band typically, but then it dropped down to 100 again, and then it went back up to 200 for a little bit here in February, and then it's dropped back down to this 100. Either way, this is selling a lot, and so that's just an extra indicator to show that it is actually selling. Now, if it's ever selling less than 50, as in this last example where we are no longer selling 50 per month, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy it. That just means that it's selling less than 50 times per month. But we can see that it sells very consistently still. So it's still an option to purchase depending on your metrics there. It's just an extra indicator of knowing, is this selling well? How well is this selling? And let's see what the competition is doing in relation to that. And then the last example is actually a seasonal product. This is holiday time. These are lights from Walmart. Actually, this is their private label brand. And we can see, if we look at this, the sales rank is going up and down consistently. Over the holiday season, November, December, January, the sales rank really ramps up and we're seeing a lot better sales. Obviously, we've got a 1,200 sales rank at one point. It's really selling a lot. So this is indicating, hey, this sells a lot, but definitely over the fourth quarter here of the year, November or October, November, December, and then into January, we see a lot of sales happen for these Christmas lights. And so what we want to look at is, all right, it's selling well, so sales rank checks out. The second thing is the buy box price. What does the price do? Naturally, as there's more sales and we see more sellers and competition come on, we also then see the price drop from about $29 down to this $20 price point whenever we're at the peak of the amount of sellers here. So we're seeing that as the amount of sellers increase, the price drops, and that is just a very good indicator of what we should expect during that selling season. But now that we're out of the fourth quarter, we can see a bunch of sellers have fallen off, and so the price is starting to increase, and we're also seeing a slower amount of sales, but it's still selling fairly well. So this is where Keepa can be very helpful and valuable. As we get into the fourth quarter next year, we should probably expect the price to fall off as it did this year. Additionally, we can see with this monthly sold amount that it wasn't tracking here, so it was probably selling less than 50 times per month around October, September, but then it hit that 100 per month sold, and then 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000, and at its peak in December, we're seeing 3,000 sold per month. And so we know that this is really selling a lot in the seasonal time period, and then it really starts to tank pretty quickly a few weeks after, and it drops down to about 500, and then it goes down to 400, 200, 100, and it's kind of stayed at that 100 per month sold over the last couple months. So this just gives us a good indicator of, is this selling well? And then lastly, because of this competition, we can see as more competition comes on, this is just key, that as it does come on, you can see the price just go down while the amount of sellers is going up. And so it's just a very important metric. We can also look at the entire history of this, and we can see each year during Q4, what happens? A bunch of sellers come on, the price tanks. A bunch of sellers come on, the price tanks. A bunch of sellers come on, the price tanks. And we just see that pattern every year. So that's where seeing the entire history of a seasonal product is also very helpful. Now, like I said, there's a lot more that goes into Keepa, but I wanted this video to be on how do you read these Keepa graphs? What's the tutorial here? How do we use this monthly sold amount now as we are getting into this new feature of Keepa? If you're looking to track products or you want to do some of the more advanced things, I've made plenty of videos on this channel about that. Also, if you want a full guide, that's 16 pages of information for how do you read these Keepa graphs, and I recommend going to askjimmysmith.com/Keepa guide, and that will give you all the information for how to set up your Keepa graphs, how to read them, a bunch of examples for you to go through, and really just how you can use it, not just to train yourself, but also train your future employees or anybody else that you're trying to help out with Amazon. It's a very good resource that I've used for thousands of different people at this point, and I hope that it helps you and blesses you. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. As you can see, I have pulled up Keepa.com on my browser, and I want to make sure that I'm showing you the exact steps to even get to the data product finder if you're brand new, because this is important. This is the overview tutorial of everything. If you're a little bit more experienced, I am going to be going through some basic stuff, but I also will be describing 3 different ways that you can source with this tool on this video, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Now, to get to the data product finder, you simply go to Keepa.com. You can see this is the home screen here, and there's a bunch of different options up at the top. All you have to do is click on data, hence Keepa data, and then the product finder. So Keepa data product finder. Now there's a bunch of other options here, and I've actually discussed some of these options on my channel and other videos, but we're specifically going to be talking about the product finder today. Now, whenever you click into that, there is a ton of information that you see on the screen. It can be extremely overwhelming if you're not used to really what any of this means. And there's, luckily, if you just want to come on here and see what everything means, there's these little question marks, so you can hover over them, and sometimes it will give a nice little description of what that particular section means on the data product finder. But you can see it just continues to go. There is so much data available to us through this tool, and we can pull back all the products that meet whatever criteria it is that we are looking for to actually sell on the Amazon platform. Now, a few key important points here. I could go into every single line item. I'm not going to do that. I do recommend going here and checking out each individual one, but I am going to go through the important ones that I personally like to use and that I see the majority of Amazon sellers using as well. But again, don't get stuck in your ways. This tool is really great to experiment with and to just try new things and see what products will pull back for you to potentially be able to sell on Amazon. And I really love using this tool and just trying to learn more ways that we can expand our sourcing criteria each and every day. Now, here is a very important one. This is the sales rank chart. Now, you can, if you're looking in a particular category, you're looking for particular products, you can actually search for any sales rank between a certain amount and upper limit. So if you just want to see everything that is underneath 200,000 of a sales rank, you can do that and it will pull back, and you can actually see down here your current filter matches 127 million products that are underneath a 200,000 sales rank currently. But what's really powerful with some of this Keepa information is you can actually see 30-day, 90-day, and 180-day averages. And so this is a very important piece of information because we can kind of manipulate the data to show different products that may be picking up speed in how often they're selling, or maybe they're slowing down in how they're selling based off of its history. And so you can really start to manipulate this in the future. And I'll show you some of those examples here in just a bit. But just for purposes of showing you how this works, currently I cleared it out again, so it's not showing any results. If I go to 200,000 as the cap, which is not my recommendation, this is again just for example's sake, we can see that there are, I think I may have done 2 million before. This is 200,000, but we can see there's 32 million products that are underneath the 200,000 sales rank. And let's say that I didn't want, the best sellers on Amazon, but I'm fine with looking at products over 15,000 currently. So that's going to limit my results now down to 27 million products. Pretty amazing that we've got that many products in between these current sales rank ranges. Now, if I want to narrow it even further, and let's just say I want to have this have an average of always underneath the 200,000 sales rank mark, then I'm going to go ahead and just put this as the limits for all of these options. And now we're down to 4 million products. So it really narrowed that down quite a bit. Okay, so this is how you can use the sales rank section to look for items that are selling consistently and have been selling consistently over this history of the products. Now you can also look for things that have no sales rank if you wanted to try to find those hidden opportunities, or maybe look for things that are at its lowest ever sales rank so you can see what's really picking up steam in its amount of sales each day. The next thing is the buy box. Now, the buy box, if you don't know, this is what's typically shown on Amazon's sales pages. Now the buy box actually rotates in different areas. So this is just the best data that Keepa has. It may actually be different depending on where you're located in the country. But the buy box is essentially the price that it's selling for. And maybe you want to be able to see prices that are anywhere from $15 at a minimum up to $40 at a maximum. That's what you want to see as the current buy box, for example. Well, now we went from 4 million down to 1.5 million products. And we can do the same thing and just say we want to see minimums always above 15. So that way we know that it's never going lower than that. And I'm fine with keeping the prices here. And now we're still at that 1.5 million products shown. Now, this next section is Amazon. So we can see that Amazon is on a listing or not. I personally typically will recommend for arbitrage sellers to look for times when Amazon is out of stock. So if you do that, it brings it down to 1.4 million from the 1.5. It didn't remove too many, but that is just currently out of stock. This doesn't mean that they've never sold on the listing. As you can see, there's still averages here, but we're just going to leave it as Amazon out of stock. Now, for whatever reason you wanted to compete with Amazon, or you're looking for specific opportunities where maybe you're trying to buy from Amazon and sell it at a higher price later, you're doing an Amazon to Amazon flip, you can use this section very creatively as well. Now, some of these things you can also skip. This is just the new price in general, which takes into account the FBM price, the fulfilled by merchant, as well as the FBA price. You can see just the FBA prices if you wanted to also compete there. And then same here, you can just look at the FBM price in general if you wanted to look for fulfilled by merchant products themselves. All of these I typically will remove for arbitrage and wholesale sourcing. If I am looking for FBM opportunities, you can use this very well. Same with if you're just looking for an FBA price. Maybe there is no buy box currently, but you're looking for an FBA price between certain levels. You can do that also to pull in different results. Also here, if you're selling used products, you can take a look at all these used sections. I personally don't, so we skip that. But there's a lot of information in terms of pricing, rental value, eBay prices as well, if you're looking for some eBay new prices to kind of compare it to. So there's some interesting things that you can do with this. Now, here's where we can get even more detailed in the Keepa Data Product Finder with the title, brand, and more. Now you can then filter these criteria. So whatever you put in this upper box, let's just keep it here for now. We've got 1.4 million products. Well, I can actually take that and go to the categories. Maybe I'm gated. I'm a new seller and I'm gated in specific categories, but I want to check out items in just home and kitchen. Well, I can do that, and it will now change that from 1.4 million to 125,000 products that meet those criteria in the upper box, but are in the home and kitchen category. Well, what if I want to sell in grocery? Well, I can click on that, and now there's only 9,000 products that meet all those criteria from above. So this is really powerful to hone in on your sourcing in specific categories. Additionally, I'm going to go back to all root categories so we can show this. We got 1.4 million products again. You can actually go to subcategories if you want. I don't typically use that, but if you have a specific subcategory that you're interested in, you can actually use that to hone the results even more. And then the text field. So with the title, this is an important field that I personally love to use just in regular sourcing. I've done many videos using this field, and you can see if we hover over this and I try to zoom in there, this title of the product actually works on a keyword basis. So it essentially means that the product's title must contain the specified strings keywords, which are to be separated by a white space. The search is case insensitive. Partial keyword matches are not supported. So for example, you can see here, there's a first example. I'll try to zoom in even more. So digital camera Canon. In that first example, if you're just typing in those 3 words, the title must contain all 3 keywords in any order or position. So that does not mean that it's going to show up in the title of digital camera Canon in that order every time. It could be digital, blah, 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 camera, blah, 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 Canon, right? And those could be just a way for Keepa to pull back any listings that have those words. Now, the next example that they give is digital camera in quotes and then Canon after that. So in this example, the title must contain the keyword digital camera together and then Canon at some other point in the title. So it could be digital camera, blah, 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 Canon. It could be Canon, blah, 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 digital camera. Either way, digital camera has to be together if it's in quotes. And then lastly, you've got another example of a negative sign or a dash and then the word digital right next to it. So dash digital and then space camera. So the title must not contain the keyword digital, but must contain the word camera. And so that is the way that you can use negative keywords if you're looking for things that maybe aren't digital cameras in this example. You're just looking for other cameras that are not digital. Maybe they're more film cameras, right? And so that's a way that you can use the title field very extensively and pull back almost exact results that you need. And it's actually going to go into one of the 3 sourcing examples that I'm going to give here once I'm done going through this overview. But you can use this to really hone in. For instance, if I wanted to look for Oreos as a brand, I could look up the word Oreo, and that's going to pull back 9 products that meet the criteria from above, right? Which is very powerful. Well, if I'm looking for the word Oreos, that's going to change it to 1 product because of the way that the title was done. And so this is a very impactful thing that you can do. Now, if I wanted to look for the word Oreo cookie and it's got cookie in the title, we're going to see Oreo in the title and cookie. We've got 1 product that matches that criteria. Now, if I wanted to see Oreo cookies in quote, most likely, I'm assuming there's going to be 0, but let's see. We've got also showing as 1 product currently that has Oreo cookies. Let's see if we take out the S, now there's 0 products. So see how powerful that can be. I went from Oreo cookies in quotes, which means the title has to contain both next to each other. Got 1 product. And then if I go over here and I change it and I take away the S because it has to be Oreo cookie, it goes down to 0 products. So this is very powerful. I love using the title field for multiple things. You can use it for, let's just say, paleo items, right? There are 165 things that fall underneath paleo. And let's look paleo and then vegan, which may not make any sense, but 82 products there that show up for paleo and vegan anywhere in the title. But if I were to do negative paleo, but I want vegan in there, then we've got 3,349 products that are vegan and don't contain the word paleo. And then lastly, if I were to do negative vegan, let's see how that, got 83 products that include the word paleo, but don't include vegan. So very powerful field that you can use. I love it. And I recommend using it pretty much in almost any search that you're doing. So it's very powerful. Now, the next thing you can do is you can actually see different types of entries here. You've got type. So this would be, any types of drinking cup or hat, rug, sticker, etc. I typically don't use this too often. Product group, also a bunch of different examples like shoes, automotive parts and accessories. And you can also say, hey, it's one of these things or it is none of these things. That makes it really very powerful to make it more of an exact search that you're looking for different types of products, whether it's one of or it's none of. So you've got multiple options here, or 2 options there to hone in on those searches for yourself. Now, the next thing is also size. You could take a look at any size if you wanted to. Author, if you're doing books. Part number is important if you're dealing with things like manufactured parts, whether it's like a washing machine or a refrigerator, or it could be lawnmowers or any parts that go in there. There's typically manufacturing numbers. And you can search for those manufacturing numbers in here and just do an exact search and it'll pull back those items for you. Same with manufacturer. Maybe you're looking for not just the Oreos in the title, but you're looking for a specific manufacturer of that product. You can put that in there. Model number, edition, binding. So after binding, you've got brand as an option. If you want to put in the brand of the product, sometimes the brand and the manufacturer may actually be different. You may have a manufacturer such as Nabisco, you may have a brand as Oreo, or you may have Johnson & Johnson as the manufacturer and a different brand as one of their brands underneath their manufacturing label. Also, you can look for color, format, and languages. So a bunch of different ways that you can really hone in on those searches. Now down here it gets very interesting. New offer count I really like to use. This is the competition that is shown in that bottom box on the Keepa graphs. And so you can say, hey, you know what? I don't want to see any private label products. A private label product typically will have 1, maybe 2 sellers if they've got an FBM and an FBA listing on there. So I also don't want to really deal with many exclusive wholesale accounts. So let's just say I want to see a minimum of 3 sellers on here. Now in that minimum of 3, we've got 11,000 products down from the 1.4. If I clear that out again, you can see we've got the 1.42 million products. And if I want to see currently 3 sellers on that listing as a minimum, then we've got 11,000 products with 3 sellers at a minimum. Now, if I want to see maybe a maximum of 8 sellers, I can put that currently, and we can see now it went down to 10,000 products down in the bottom. And then you can also look at the 30-day averages. You could always say that this has a minimum of 3 sellers on it, and that brings it down to 6,000 products. So that way we kind of can hone in on those arbitrage opportunities. Now, since I don't do used, I don't typically use this, but if you're doing books or some used products, then you can definitely use this option. Same with refurbished, collectible, and then the count of retrieved live offers is also very helpful too for FBA versus FBM. It just gives you the option to see, hey, we've got FBA sellers on it versus the FBM sellers. Now let's just do an experiment and see, all right, we want a minimum of 2 FBA sellers on this, and now it brings down to 1,362 products because we've got 2 FBA sellers currently, and we have 3 total sellers as a minimum. So this just gives us a little bit more ability to find those products that are more arbitrage or wholesale opportunities. Now you can also say, hey, I don't want to see Amazon at all. Maybe I want a third-party seller in the buy box. So I'm going to click that, and it leaves it as the same because we have Amazon listed as out of stock up in the top section. If you remember that right here, Amazon out of stock. So we shouldn't have any buy box of Amazon, but you can leave this as all as well, so it won't make any big difference. And then there are some additional buy box switches. Do you want the buy box to be FBA? Do you want it to be unqualified, pre-order, back order, prime exclusive? If you just want to see the FBA buy box, that brought it down to 1,266 products from the 1,300 that we had. I'm going to go back and put all there. And then used seller, additional buy box used. I don't, again, do any used products, so I leave these all as they are. Now you can actually get very specific if you want to be searching for products from one specific seller. Maybe you have a competitor or somebody you're trying to do some competition analysis on. You can actually search for all their products with this specific section, and you can add in multiple seller IDs. If you've got maybe a list of 30 competitors that you would like to look at all of their listings that meet specific criteria, you can put all the seller IDs in here, and you can see that there's a nice little example or description of what that is here for you. You can also take a look at the buy box percentage, Amazon buy box share that they've got here. Same with the top seller share. And then you have the buy box winner count days, which is the number of sellers with the buy box ownership within the 30-day period. So let's say if it's within 30 days, we want to see buy box got 4 different people won the buy box, or maybe over 90 days, we want to see 6 people won the buy box, right? We can play around with these numbers that allow us to just get more specific with those searches. And I'm not going to touch it. I really don't use this that often, but it's definitely something to be aware of. You can also take a look at physical product, digital products, or ebooks. Now for our current searches, we may not have many of these, but I'm going to take out ebooks. I'm going to take out digital products because we're selling arbitrage. So it did not change it at all, but depending on the search, it may make a difference. Also, let's say I don't want to do any variations. I can do no variations, and we bring it down to 347 products from the 1,365. That's a pretty big difference. So if you don't like doing variations, definitely click that. Or maybe you're looking specifically for variations, then you can click is variation, and now we have 1,000 products. It's nice to use depending on the types of products that you're searching for. Now, there's image counts, there's variation counts, there's the last pricing change, how long it's been tracking, all of these different things that you can utilize. You can even look for release date. That can be helpful if you're looking for some newer products or older products. And then if there's any out of stock or suppressed buy box percentages, very powerful to use this stuff as well. Just depends on what you're looking for. Sales rank drops is also powerful. I know a lot of sellers that look specifically for sales rank drops. So maybe they don't care as much about the sales rank themselves, but they want to look for things that have in the last 30 days, 20 sales rank drops as a minimum. And we want to see that over 90 days, maybe it's 60, and 180 days, we're going to do 120. So that way now we have 136 products that have a good sales rank and also have a good number of sales rank drops. And then bought in the past month is actually a newer feature as of the time of this recording anyway. And you can see based off of Amazon search engine results pages how much it has been purchased in the last month. Now, there are ranges. So if it's under 50 sales in the last month, Amazon doesn't give that data. If it's over 50, then it does. So if you're looking at slower moving products that don't have that 50 amount, let's say we want to say it's 49 or less, it's going to bring it down to 0 products because Amazon doesn't provide that data. They only provide if it's over 50. So if we actually do this and we look at over 50, then we've got now 115 products. If we want to say 50 to 99, now we have 62 products. So we can get very specific. Maybe we want to see items that have over 200 as a minimum. Let's see if there are any. There's 21 products in our criteria that have over 200 sales in the last month and meet all the other things that we've also input here. Rating, if you want to see things that are over 3 stars or 4 stars on average, then you can do that. Review count is important because maybe it's a newer product and you're looking to see that, hey, the reviews have been going up. Maybe there's just at least 1 review on the product. I like to make sure that there's 1 review typically, and that didn't change it at all. This is very powerful as well. So you can see things that maybe getting more sales and getting more reviews over that time period. So you can say, hey, we want to see an average review count of 100 reviews, and then 90 days ago it was 75, and 180 days ago it was a minimum of 50. And so we're seeing an increasing amount of reviews. You can do some very cool things with this section. Again, this is overwhelming. This is a lot of information. This is a tutorial though to show you, hey, how do we think through these things? What are some exciting ways to use the Keepa Data Product Finder? Now, availability of the Amazon offer, you can say, hey, Amazon is in stock, or no Amazon offer exists. It's pre-order, it's unknown, it's back ordered, or the shipping is delayed. Depending on what you want, you can use this. A lot of times I don't play around with this too often because I've really honed it in on all the other options that we've got above. Pick and pack fee can allow you to find specific items in certain sizes. So if you're looking for small standard or large standard or oversized, you can find those items based off the pick and pack fee. If you'd like to use that, you can. Same with number of items. If you're looking for maybe some bundles or multi-packs, you can use this to really hone in on those options as well. Same with package dimensions, package weight, item dimensions, item weight, and then if there's any coupons, subscribe and save coupons. And then here are some additional switches. I've never used the map restriction one for a minimum advertised price. You may have a use case for it, so I'm going to mention it. Same with Launchpad. If you're looking for hazmat products, this is a great one to have. Or if you don't want hazmat products, definitely click no. That actually brought it down from 21 down to 19 products, so it helped. Adult products, trade-in eligible, prime eligible, or buy box, and then subscribe and save options. And then here is one to allow products with possibly outdated price information to be included. This is something that can, as Keepa shows, if you sort or filter by any offer related data, the results will be restricted to products with a last offer update no older than 3 days unless this checkbox is checked. So if we're looking for things that may be a little bit more outdated, let's see if that changes it much. So 19 went back up to 21. So there's 2 things now that have some outdated pricing information, and maybe we're okay with that. So let's just take a look at these results now based off of everything that we've put in. This is pretty powerful, right? We can see things. We did not hone it in on a particular category, I don't believe, but we've got barbecue sauce 2-pack right here. We've got toner cartridges. We've got, what is this? A Saltwerk gift box, a caramel macchiato deluxe frappe latte mix right here. So a lot of different options. Now, you may find some duds here, right? These aren't going to be all perfect replenishable products or things that are going to be excellent for you to purchase and send into Amazon, but it did hone in millions upon millions of products down to these 21 items based off of what we had put into the system. And actually, I'm going to go right back real quick and rerun this. And the reason I'm doing that is so that we can kind of see what the Keepa chart looks like here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this right here. And we can see this Keepa chart looks like it does sell well. The pricing, though, has been dropping a little bit. And so that would be a concern of mine. But the thing that we'd have to do next then is go and find this product to see if it's even profitable for us to sell this. But it is very powerful to use this information to find these products. And it can be very helpful to see the 3 months, all, or even just this past year and how this has performed. And so pretty exciting that we can use this tool to filter down the millions of products into whatever else that we're looking to do. Now, let's just use this for a few examples. So one, I do want to recommend that you play around with this as much as possible. Just see what pulls back. I've learned a lot just by messing around with this tool. These aren't things that you have to use as a Keepa Data Product Finder to be successful. These are just examples. I could come over here and say, well, I want to see things currently with 50,000 minimum up to 500,000 or 1 million sales rank. Or maybe I want to see things that have no sales rank, but also have sales. This is kind of a fun thing to do as well. I could go here, I could click no sales rank. Currently, I'm going to get rid of all of these, and we've got one product that hits this criteria. But if I scroll down to the sales rank drops, we've got 20, 60, and 120. Maybe I take these out because there's no sales rank. Well, now if I take those out, there are 9 products though that Amazon's showing has had 200 sales at a minimum in the last month, but don't have a sales rank. So you can use this to find a lot of items that may sell well, but also don't have any sales ranks. So there may be less competition finding these products, right? That's one way you can use it. But you could also go back up to the top and get rid of that no sales rank option and fill it in with whatever it is that you want. Maybe you want 50,000 and then 200,000 as the max, and you can just find those products. There's 7 products that meet that criteria. So this is very powerful, but that was searching option number 1, is you could use it to find no sales rank items. Now, the second thing that I actually recommend is let's just re-input these filters here. Let me go back to what we started with, 15,000, just so we can keep this consistent to 200,000. All right, so now that we have our original search here, we can also use this, as I mentioned earlier, to search by title. For instance, you may have seen this at the top of my screen. We've got, let's say we're sourcing at Walmart, and instead of doing our manual sourcing, where we go to Amazon and we try to find all the products under this brand that maybe we can sell, we actually have this brand in front of us of Oreo, and we can go back to the product finder, input some fields that we would like to see based off of our sourcing criteria, and then in the title, we can come down here and just look up the word Oreo. And whenever we do that, we've got 0 products that meet this criteria, most likely because we're dealing with some of these more restrictive things that exist on our filters. So I can take out 200 as bought in the past month. That brought us now down to 1. And so if I want more results, typically I recommend having less than 500. If you can get less than 250, that's best. If I want more results, then I can just start to get rid of some of these different options as well. But keep in mind, Oreo is an option as well as Oreos. That brings 0 products or results. So we're going to just use Oreo as an option that meets these particular criteria and allows us to just search for those products. I'm going to click Find Products. So we've got 1 12-pack of Oreo mini muffins that pulled up. So if we had that available on Walmart.com, we could really utilize this information to find the right products for us. Now let me take a look to see if there's anything else that we can do here that would allow it to expand these sourcing results. I just want to make sure. I'm going to click on All, so allow some variations here. Let's take a look down here, all there, that shouldn't make a difference. And let's take out lowest ever on the buy box here. This now brings us to 30 products that meet these criteria of a minimum of $15 price point in these sales rank ranges. Amazon is out of stock. The word Oreo is in the listing. We've got a minimum of 3 sellers on the listing as well. So we're just going to go ahead and click Find Products. And whenever we click on Find Products, we've got all of these different options. Now, they may or may not be good. You may or may not have access to these things at your store, but we've got a pack of 3 of these Oreo Golden double stuffed sandwiches. I don't know if these are going to be profitable. They may not even exist in this size at the store, but you can see here that the fees are pretty high. So we're most likely not going to be profitable for this particular product. That's interesting as to how high those fees are. But this is another option, right? If we were actually looking at Walmart, we could potentially find golden Oreos. This is 24 ounces, it says, for party size. So we'd be looking for a different size that actually met that criteria on the Amazon listing. But we can start with the information of looking for ASINs or products that have those criteria, and then we can put in the brands that we're looking at on Walmart or on Target or any other store, and it will hone in all of the brands that meet those criteria. It's extremely powerful. So that was the second method of doing brand sourcing with the Keepa Data Product Finder. Now, before I get to this third way of sourcing with the Keepa Data Product Finder, I want to remind you that I actually have a free 30-day training at my website. You get 30 days of emails completely free on how to get started and grow your Amazon business. You can head over to askjimmysmith.com/free training for that information. Now, for the third way that you can use this Keepa Data Product Finder to search for specific products, and again, there's almost seemingly unlimited ways to use this. Now, this third way is actually going to be for how to find products with increasing prices and decreasing sellers. Now, I've gone ahead and cleared out the Keepa Data Product Finder information, so we're starting fresh. But if we're looking things with increasing prices, let's take a look at an item that maybe has underneath the buy box, we're going to say an average of $15 as a minimum up to $20 as a maximum. And then we're going to start just slowly increasing this to $17 as a minimum for the 90 days and $24 as a maximum. Then we're going to do 20 as the minimum and 27 as the maximum. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to look for items that have $25 as the minimum and $40 as the maximum. And now we've got 49,000 products that meet this kind of increasing price opportunity, which is very powerful. We're also going to say Amazon is out of stock, because that way we can have 23,000 products available. And you can use this for just about anything that you want. You don't have to use these criteria. It's just something that I'm playing around with to see what we can get. I have not done this search before and with these specific metrics, but it's just kind of fun to do that. Now, this is the increasing prices portion. You can also play around with these drop percentages, and there's some cool things you can do with that. Like, it's a little bit more advanced. So for the purposes of this training, we're just going to stick with a more basic way to do this. Additionally, for decreasing amount of sellers, that means we would have to come all the way down here to look for the new offer count. And so let's say we want a 180-day average that had a minimum of 7 sellers. This should be interesting to see what pulls back up to, and we'll just leave it there. And then we want a minimum over here of 6 sellers, but we want a maximum of 10. So now we have 1,400 products, and then we want a minimum of 5 sellers with a maximum of 7. And now we've got 800 products, and maybe now we're looking for a minimum of 3 sellers with a maximum of 5. Let's see how many we get. So now we're down to 342 products and have an increasing price point and a decreasing offer count, which allows us to find products that maybe we can buy and send in, and there's less competition. So this is a very doable amount of products. If you wanted to hone this more, you could do that. You could look at FBA offers included or at the current level. You could even go down to different titles or even categories. If you wanted to see what's in grocery, for instance, we can see there's 4 products in grocery that meet those criteria. Let's just take a look and see what pulls back for this. And we can also then take a look at the Keepa graph to see kind of what we're talking about here. So let's look at this pack of 4 of this item. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Amazon title here so that we can see this on the Amazon page. This is for Sabritas, and it looks like the lemon, salt and lime options here. So if we can find this, then great. Now it's showing 0 FBA sellers and there's 4 FBM. So maybe I want to go back because I want to find things that are more doable for an FBA seller. You can actually see here though, the buy box price has been increasing, and it increased to a high amount while the sellers were decreasing. I think that's very powerful to see items like this. Let's actually go back to this advanced filter, and I want to make sure there's at least 1 FBA seller on this listing. So we'll go back to the same section and we'll say from 1 FBA seller. Let's see if that, now we've got 3 products. Now it shouldn't pull back that lime chip option that we just looked at, and it didn't. So it did its job. Let's take a look at this Bisquick option here underneath Amazon. Now we can see here, this is under brand of Pancake, so I would not purchase this because that brand is incorrect. The brand is actually Bisquick. But let's just take a look at this. We've got 1 FBA seller and 5 FBM. Now with this, you can see Amazon is not currently selling it, but they were at one point. And you can also see that the price has been increasing over these last few months, and the sellers have been decreasing. So it did its job again. Now I made these very restrictive. We're just looking in the grocery category. We could again expand that out to any category, and we could also make it a little bit more of an open amount of pricing or seller changes, but again, that's very powerful. So those are 3 ways that you can use the Keepa Data Product Finder to find more products. Hopefully this overview and tutorial was very helpful for you. If you're looking for more ways, I'm actually going to put a link in this video for you for another method of using the Keepa Data Product Finder called the Keepa Parameter method. That's very interesting, and it's based on using your current products that are selling well and using that data and turning it into new data that you can search for similar products on the Keepa Data Product Finder. That will be linked here for you. I hope this video helps you. Ask your questions and comments down below. Again, all those resources I mentioned for free trainings and Keepa guides are listed in the description below, so be sure to check those out. Hope this video helps you and blesses you, and you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.